Distinguished shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to welcome you to this annual general meeting of your company, VFD Group PLC. Time now is 11 a.m. The company secretary has informed me that the quorum has been formed. The registrars, having received 56 number of proxies representing 108,256,027 number of shares and 86.57% of the issued share capital. Therefore, I have great pleasure in declaring the meeting open. Thank you. Please be advised that this meeting is being streamed live and also being recorded. May I request Pastor Williams Adebayo John to give us the opening prayer.
Our Father, our God, and our Creator. Father Jehovah, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you for our company. Father, we gather here today. We believe that you will grant us a rank-offering meeting. And for our directors, grant them more wisdom and understanding to take this company to greater heights. And as for the shareholders, we will be smiling for the banks today for our dividends. Grant us more in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Very more we ask for our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. Amen in Jesus.
I say amen on behalf of everyone, particularly as it relates to the dividends.
Yes.
Thank you, Pastor Adebayo John. 6th AGM was earlier scheduled to hold on Friday, May 13, 2022, but unfortunately was postponed to enable the amendment of the notice of the AGM to include issuance of bonus shares as a special business. Your company decided to hold an AGM by proxy in line with the guidelines of the Corporate Affairs Commission, having obtained the Commission's approval. We should all endeavor to keep safe. That said, I'm delighted to introduce myself and those participating with me at this meeting. To my immediate right, Executive Officer of VFD Group, Mr. Nonso Okpala. Next to him is Mr. Deni Adenubi, an Executive Director. Next to him is Mr. Femi Akinwari, Executive Director. Next to him, Nikbekun Oshinowo, a non-executive director. Next to him is Mr. Folajimi Adeleye, an executive director. On my far right is Mr. Mobolaji Adeomi, a non-executive director. To my left is Mr. Where am I now? To my left is Mr. Azubike Emodi, a non-executive director. Next to him is Mr. John Okonkwo, an executive director. Next to him is Mr. Kevin Orogun, a non-executive director. Next to him is Mr. Agbenga Omolokun, a non-executive director. Next to him is Mr. Suleiman Lawal, a non-executive director. Also at this meeting is the company secretary, Ms. Bemi Nii Shoda. I think you clap louder for her. She's the engine room of the board. My name is Olatunde Busari, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and I'm the chairman of the company. Other directors at this meeting who are attending virtually are Mrs. Ngozi Aganya, a non-executive director, Ms. Joel Okwechime, a non-executive director, and I also assume that Mr. Chuks Ozigbo, who is not here with us, will also be with us on the virtual platform, a non-executive director. We have with us at this meeting representatives of the following regulators: the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, Mrs. Rosemary Sensors. And representing NASDA PLC, NASD PLC, Mrs. Chikwendu Eke, Mrs. Zainab Babaola. Good to see you. Representing the Corporate Affairs Commission, CAC, Mrs. Bumi Adekunte. She's on her way. I know. I would also like to introduce to you representatives of the following companies: the external auditors, representatives of Deloitte Touche, represented by Chigozie Okoro, Ayotunde Aminu, and Ngozi Isibo. Good to have you. Our registrars, African Prudential PLC, represented by Mrs. Catherine Nwosu. Thank you very much. The Statutory Audit Committee is represented by the chairman, Mr. Adeyemi Lawal. The Board Evaluation Consultants, Institute of Directors, Center of Corporate Governance, represented by Mr. Neros Ekezie and Mr. Ike Mbagu. Thank you very much, IOD. Please be reminded that this meeting is being streamed live and recorded. When you want to speak, please indicate by show of hand and wait for me to invite you to speak. Please state your name clearly and endeavor to be brief and straight to the point. I urge you not to repeat what has been said. Thank you very much. Kindly also note that the Register of Directors, shareholding, and record of attendance of board meetings eligible for election are available for reviewing by contacting the registrars. Please also note, the requisite information is available in the annual reports, copies of which I believe has been given to all the attendees. I will now call on the company secretary, Ms. Bemini Yeshoda, to read the notice of the meeting.
Notice of the 6th Annual General Meeting of VFD Group PLC. Notice is hereby given that the 6th Annual General Meeting of VFD Group PLC will be held at Radisson Blue Anchorage Hotel, 1A Ozumban Badue Avenue, Victoria Island, Lagos, on Tuesday, May 31st, 2022 at 11 a.m. to transact the following business. Ordinary business. 1, to lay before the company the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2021, together with the reports of the directors, auditors, and the audit committee. 2, to declare a dividend. 3, to elect and appoint the following directors. 3A, Mr. Kelvin Orogun. 3B, Mr. Femi Akinwari. 3C, Mr. Folajimi Adeleye. 3D, Mr. John Okonkwo. And 3E, Mr. Olanipekun Osinowo. 4, to re-elect the following directors retiring by rotation. 4A, Mr. Nonso Okpala. 4B, Mr. Ni Adenubi. 4C, Mr. Gbenga Omolokun. 4D, Mr. Suleiman Lawal. 4E, Mr. Olatunde Busari, SAN. 5, to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors. 6, to elect and re-elect members of the audit committee in accordance with Section 404, Sub 3 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. 7, to disclose the remuneration of managers of the company in line with the provisions of Section 238 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. Special business. 8, to consider and if thought fit, pass the following resolutions as ordinary resolution. 8A, that the remuneration of the non-executive directors be and is hereby fixed at 53,900,000 only for the year ending December 31st, 2022. Such payments to be effective from January 1st, 2022. 9, to consider and if thought fit, pass the following as special resolutions. 9A, issuance of bonus shares. That in accordance with Section 430 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 and other applicable laws and regulations, the directors are hereby authorized to capitalize the sum of 31,671,214 naira out of the balance standing to the credits of the share premium of the company as at December 31st, 2021, and available for distribution, and to appropriate the said capitalized sum to the members holding 126,684,910 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each in the capital of the company, and registered as at the close of business on Friday, May 13th, 2022, the transfer date, on the condition that the sum appropriated shall not be paid in cash, but applied in paying up in full at par on behalf of such holders, 63,342,428 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each, the bonus shares, which bonus shares shall be issued and allotted, credited as paid in full, at par, to those members in the proportion of 1 ordinary share of 50 kobo each for every 2 ordinary shares of 50 kobo now held by them at the transfer date, and which bonus shares shall rank pari passu in all respects with the existing ordinary shares of the company, except that such shares shall not rank for dividend recommended by the directors in respect of the year ended December 31st, 2021. 9B, that the directors are authorized to deal with fractional shares resulting from the issuance of bonus shares in fit, pursuant to extant laws. 9C, of unissued shares be and is hereby authorized to take all steps necessary to comply with the requirements 4 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 and Regulations 13 of the Companies Regulation 2021 as it relates to unissued shares forming part of the share capital of the company, including the cancellation of the unissued shares of the company. The company's balance on issued shares of 109,972,662 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each be and is hereby cancelled. D, that the company be and is hereby authorized to take all steps necessary to ensure that the memorandum and articles of association are altered to comply with this resolution 9, including replacing the provision stating the authorized share capital with the issued share capital. 9E, that pursuant to the above resolutions, that clause 6 of the memorandum of association of the company be and are hereby amended to read as follows. The share capital of the company is 95,013,669 naira divided into 199,027,338 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each. 9F, that for the purposes of implementing the cancellation of the company's issued shares, cancellation of the company's unissued shares, the board is hereby authorized to execute all relevant documents, takes all such lawful steps as may be required by statutes or by regulations, and do other such acts or things as may be necessary, supplementary, consequential, or incidental for the purpose of giving effect to this resolution, including but not limited to engaging professional advisors and complying with any directive which any regulatory agency or body may deem fit to impose or approve. 9G, that the board of directors of the company be and is hereby authorized to do all things and take such actions as are required to give effect to the above resolutions in compliance with the extant laws and regulation, dated May 9, 2022, by order of the board, Gbemini Ishoda, Group Company Secretary, VFD Group PLC. Notes to the notice. 1. Compliance with COVID-19 related directives. The federal government of Nigeria, state government, health authorities in Nigeria convening the conduct of the AGM be done in compliance with the directive and guidelines. 2. Proxy. Any member of the company entitled to attend and vote at this meeting is also entitled to appoint a proxy to attend or vote in his stead. A proxy need not be a member of the company. For appointment of the proxy to be valid, a proxy form must be completed and deposited at the office of the company's registrar, not later than 48 hours before the time fixed for the meeting. A blank proxy form is attached to the annual report and may be downloaded from the company's website. Attendance by proxy. In line with CAC guidelines, attendance of this AGM shall be by proxy only. Shareholders are required to appoint a proxy of their choice from a list of nominated proxies below. A. Mr. Latunde Busari, SAN. B. Mr. Nonso Okpala. C. Mr. Olayinka Olajuwon. D. Ms. Fayintola Babawale. E. Ms. Gbemini Ishoda. Stamping of proxy. The company has made arrangements at its cost for the stamping of the duly completed and signed proxy forms submitted to the company's registrars within the stipulated time. 5. Online streaming of the AGM. The AGM shall be streamed live online. This will enable shareholders and other stakeholders who will not be attending physically to follow the proceedings. The link for the AGM online live streaming will be made available on the company's website. 6. Dividend. The directors have recommended the declaration of a dividend of 10 naira 79 kobo per share. If the dividend recommended by the directors is approved by the members at the annual general meeting, the dividend will be paid on May 31st, 2022 to the shareholders whose names appear in the company's register of members at the close of business on Friday, May 13th, 2022, the qualification date. 7. Closure of register of members. The register of members of the company shall be closed from Monday, May 16th to Friday, May 20th, both days inclusive for the purpose of dividend and scrip. 8. Nomination to the Audit Committee. In accordance with Section 404 sub 6 of the Company and Allied Matters Act 2020, any shareholder may nominate a shareholder for appointment to the Audit Committee. Such nomination should be in writing and should reach the Company Secretary at least 21 days before the annual general meeting. Such notice of nomination should be sent via email for the attention of the Company Secretary. Please remember the Securities and Exchange Commission's Code of Corporate Governance for Public Companies and Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, Audit Regulations 2020, provide that members of the Audit Committee should have basic financial literacy and should be able to read financial statements. 9. E-dividend bonus. Pursuant to directive of the Securities and Exchange Commission, members are advised to open bank accounts, stockbroking accounts, and CSCS account for the purpose of payment of e-dividend or bonus. Profile of directors for election or re-election. Profiles of directors standing for election or re-election are provided for in this annual report. 11. Right of shareholders to ask questions. Shareholders have a right to ask questions not only at the meeting, but also in writing prior to the meeting, and such question must be submitted to the company secretary no later than 2 weeks before the date of the AGM.
Thank you very much. Clap if you want to clap. Thank you for appreciating the good work that the company secretary is doing. Distinguished shareholders, the chairman's statement is on pages 19 to 21 of the annual report, copies of which have been distributed to shareholders. It is also available on the company's website. Even though I'll urge you to waive my reading of the statement and consider it as read, I feel obligated to appreciate our shareholders, management, and directors of the company by reading the concluding paragraph. As we conclude this period, I want to use this opportunity to thank everyone for your continued commitment and faith in this organization. On behalf of the board, I would like to express our heartfelt appreciation to all our shareholders and business partners for their unwavering support. Finally, I would like to thank the leadership, staff, and the board for your hard work and their dedication towards achieving our shared goals. Thank you very much. Distinguished shareholders, the Managing Director's CEO statement can be found at pages 23 to 30 of the annual report, copies of which you are all holding. It is also available on the company's website. Kindly waive the reading of the statement and please consider it as read. I will now ask the representative of the external auditors to read the auditor's reports. To read the auditor's reports.
The chairman, directors, distinguished shareholders, I want to start by expressing our gratitude to you for the opportunity given to us to serve as external auditors to the company. I also want to place on record the support we got from management in the process of executing the job, which made it very, very easy for us to be able to report at the time. Thank you. The auditor's report can be found on pages 68 to 73. Pages 68 to 73. And I also like to crave your indulgence to read the first, second, and the last paragraph. Thank you. Independent auditors report to the members of VFD Group PLC. We have audited a company consolidated and separate financial statements of VFD Group PLC and the company and its subsidiaries taken as the group, which comprise a consolidated and separate statement of financial position as at 31st December 2021, the consolidated and separate statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, the consolidated and separate statement of changes in equity, the consolidated and separate statement of cash flows for the year then ended, and a notes to the consolidated and separate financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the consolidated and separate financial statements give a true and fair view of the consolidated and separate financial position of VFD Group PLC as at 31st December 2021, and the financial performance and cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards, the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, Investment and Securities Act Cap S124, Law of the Federation of Nigeria 2007, and the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act 2011. Please, can we go to the last paragraph? The last paragraph is on page 73. Report on other legal and regulatory requirements. In accordance with the 5th schedule of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, we expressly state that, 1, we have obtained all the information and explanation which to the best of our knowledge and belief were necessary for the purpose of our audit. The group has kept proper books of accounts so far as appears from our examination of those books. And lastly, the group and company's financial position and its statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income are in agreement with the books of account and returns. This opinion was signed by Joshua Ojo on behalf of Deloitte and Touche. Thank you.
Thank you very much, representative of the external auditors. I will now ask the chairman of the Statutory Audit Committee to read the committee's report, Mr. Adeyemi Lawal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The members of the VFD Group PLC, in accordance with provision of Section 404 of CAMA, we have exercised our statutory function in line with the CAMA Act 2020 and acknowledge the cooperation of management and conduct of these responsibilities. We are of the opinion that the accounting and reporting policies of the company are in accordance with the legal requirement and agreed ethical practices, and that the scope and planning of both the external and the internal audits for the year ended 31st December 2021 were satisfactory and reinforce the company's internal control system. We have deliberated with the external auditors. We have confirmed that necessary cooperation was received from management in the course of their statutory audit, and we are satisfied with the management's responses thereon, and with the effectiveness of the company's systems of accounting and internal control. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adeyemi Lawal. Please take note that the report of the external consultants on the board evaluation of the company can be found between pages 65 and 67 of the annual report. We'll now go on to resolution by poll. Pursuant to Section 248 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, I hereby declare that a poll be taken on the resolutions for consideration at this meeting. Shareholders that did not send in their proxies, shareholders that did not send in their proxy forms have the opportunity to vote at this meeting. For shareholders physically present, you can vote by using the voting device provided by the registrars. While for shareholders streaming virtually, you can vote by using the voting link circulated by the registrars. I now call on Mrs. Catherine Nwosu, the representative of the registrars, to take us through the voting guidelines.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, for shareholders who are physically present and did not submit their proxies, please note that before we start the voting, we will carry out a keypad test to activate the keypads. That will require that you just press any key on the device to activate it. The voting will be open for 20 seconds. You will need only 2 keys for the exercise, 1 or 2. When the vote is open, you press 1 to vote if you are in favor of the resolution, or you press 2 if you are against the resolution. If you press any other key, it will be assumed that you have abstained from voting. You have the flexibility to change your vote within the 20 seconds window by simply selecting another option. Once the voting period ends, your last selected voting option will be registered as your final vote. For shareholders voting remotely, link has been sent to you. You will be required to key in the unique code sent to you. The resolutions will be displayed, and you'll be required to either select for or against the resolution. You also have the flexibility to change your vote within the 20 seconds window. Once the voting period ends, your last selected voting option will be registered as your final vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Catherine Nwosu. Since the votes on all the proxy forms duly submitted have been collated by the registrars, I'd like to ask the registrars to collate the voting results, including the votes on the proxy forms and the outcome of the votes done here after conclusion of the voting process on each resolution upon their introduction. The next item on the agenda is to lay before the members the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2021, together with the reports of directors, auditors, and audit committee thereon. I hereby lay before you the report and accounts for the year ended December 31, 2021. You now have an opportunity to ask questions regarding the reports and accounts. In doing so, it will help to ensure that we give the right answer if you could refer to the page of the report and accounts. Reverend, you should wait for instructions. It will help if you refer to the page of the report and accounts to which your question relates. Remember to raise your hands to enable me recognize you to speak. You can now raise your hands. Introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The name is William Aliwani. Good morning, every director, and good morning, every shareholder. Mr. Chairman, today I am particularly happy because these are type of accounts shareholders love to see. That at the end of the day, we are going home with reward, yield, good yield for that matter. So that's why I am happy with this work today. Mr. Chairman, I have seen your statement and that of the Group MD, and I have seen great indices that make one to smile. From your statement, I have seen increase on the gross earning. From the statement of the CEO too, I have seen light, great light at the end of the tunnel. I have seen great investment that will keep on bringing more money. That is the truth. But whichever way one look at it, there are some areas there that one will have to touch, especially the account. Mr. Chairman, when you look at that account from page 75 to 77, you will notice that this account has been greatly aided by other income. And you look at what other income brought in is close to over 500% from other income. But finally, the total expenses went up so much, astronomically. It went up astronomically when you look at the total expenses. So with that, I also want to join it with page 126. Page 126. That is under other expenses. Other expenses. Yes, other expenses. For every shareholder who believe that the future should be assiduously worked upon, that amount on business development, we are happy to see that, because it is the amount you put on that business development that will bring in more revenue. But when you look at that of donation, the donations there reflect only two. One to Methodist Church. But funnily, if you look at the second one that goes to Immigration Office Department, for a government office, if you look at that increase from over 17 million to 92, you have to watch it. For a government establishment, Because at the end of the day, they will get yearly allocation from the government. That is certain. But if you look at that increase from over 17 million to 92, we have to watch it. Though it's an impressive result, and we're happy about it, but some of those places should look at it. And it's our belief that it will not reflect next year. But still on that donation, we should also look at some section of the nation, that is less privileged home and old people's home too. It will do us a lot of good if we can have something for less privileged homes and old people. Because their prayer is also needed for the development of this country. On page 139, if you look at those contraventions, on page 39, when you look at those contraventions and you look on all our subsidiaries, for some of us who have investment in many of these quoted companies, we know that with your investment in all those companies, you cannot run away from contravention. You cannot escape it. Because at the end of the day, before you gather your accounts, one way or the other, you enter some of those penalties. But carefully, if we can liaise with the exchange, stock exchange, carefully, we could escape some of those penalties in near future. Mr. Chairman, today also, like I said earlier, we'll be happy smiling to the banks, but then, whichever way we look at it, we must work on our meetings. Attendance at meetings is good, but that of investment, it's only 2 meetings. I think it should be 4, because you need to, yes, investment committee. It's only 2 meetings, but I believe it should be 4, because that is where you will lay more eggs to give us, and you'll be able to bake more cake to give us at the end of the day. That's on page 51 to 54. Yeah. So, Mr. Chairman, once again, I have to congratulate this board and every director. You have done a beautiful work. It is our intention and prayer that God will give you more wisdom to bake more and more cake for us to share in the near future. Thank you for the opportunity given. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Rest assured that, yes, we are in the tunnel, but we are watching with a torchlight. Yes. So that before we get to that light you are seeing at the end, we are holding a light ourselves. Thank you very much. And can we take all the questions so that the MD can respond to everything? Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Your name and organization.
My name is Shiao.
Okay. Totally. We can hear you. So you can hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Oluko, a shareholder. First and foremost, I want to commend the board, management, and staff of let me I want to say good morning to you, sir, and to every member of this great board, and to other stakeholders that are here. First and foremost, I want to extend my appreciation to the board, management, and the office of the company secretary for the invitation to be here, to be among the this for granted. First and foremost, I want to commend the company that we are celebrating today. Where we are today is indeed a great milestone. When you take a look at your statements, the chairman's statement on page 14, where you may mention about the company made gross earning that we made about 9.9 billion, about 49 point something percent above the previous. I think that is commendable. They also want to commend this board, management, and staff of this great company, because what we are celebrating is not only even these results, we are celebrating the appreciation and the value of our shares. We are also celebrating the bonus we are even giving to us 1 for 2. I think that is also commendable. And apart from the dividend of 10 naira, 7 taken away today, I say kudos to the board. But Mr. Williams said, so I'll just go straight to page 8. We want to appreciate. We are keeping, like on page 7, where we have our vision and mission statement, that we are keeping to it, because when we check the arrays of ecosystems that we have built around VFD Group, you can't but say we've done excellently well. Page 58, where you have, Mr. William may mention of it, but I just want to in another way, that donation was mentioned, that we gave donation to Olobo Medical High School and Nigerian Immigration. I think that amount should have been stated out for each of those, for the sake of disclosure. We should have stated those amounts so that we know how much we're getting out during the course of the year compared to the previous year. 51 to 53, I want to appreciate the attendance at various board meetings. But I want to ask whether the statutory audit committee, whether they met during the course of the year. But I didn't see that attendance on that page. I only got to see the names of the statutory audit committee on page. So I want to know whether they attended any meeting during the course of the year. Then I also want to appreciate our strategic activities. I want to appreciate the investment we have made. I mean, in PiggyVest, the investment we have made in global remittance business, and also the investment we have made in these two exchanges, NASD and NG. I think is commendable. It's commendable. Permit me. I mean, I'll just, Mr. Mia has mentioned one or two things about the account, so I'll just go straight by round. I want to appreciate especially Mr. Nonso. He might not know us, but we have been monitoring him when he was the chairman of the audit committee in African Potential, and I think he did a fantastic work. So we are seeing that being replicated here in VFD. So I want to commend him for what he has, for where he has taken VFD to. I also want to bring the attention of this board too, and people have been showing interest in this company, but we have this issue of liquidity. We don't get to see these shares really available on the platform that we are on the NDSD. And I think we need to work on that, because people are asking questions. They want to know more about this company. They want to invest in this company. Then I also want to know, because a lot of shareholders asked me when they saw the corporate action of this company, they say VFD was. I had to direct them to your website, and they asked this particular, what is the meaning of VFD? Is VFD an acronym? I tried to went to your website, and I didn't see where that I don't know whether it's an acronym. I know it's not an acronym. I didn't see where that was actually explained. So probably that can be a takeaway. If I can know the meaning of VFD, what it stands for. So I also want to appreciate the company secretary. I think you have one of the best company secretaries. She's, apart from, if Silverbird is to do MPGN for the most beautiful company secretary, I think she deserves it. She deserves it. She's intelligent and caring. She's always, whenever you ask any information, she's ready to clear them. I think I want to appreciate her for that. So on this note, I say thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the opportunity.
Any further questions from the shareholders? Thank you very much. And true to what you've all said, we intend to introduce an award for the best MD of the year, selected from amongst the invested companies within the group. And even though, as you all know, we cannot make that an agenda item at an AGM, but we'll crave your indulgence after the national anthem at the close of the AGM to give us 5 minutes of your time so that we'll recognize the best MD of the unit group, of the unit company. Thank you very much. I'll invite the MD to respond to all the questions that you have asked.
Good day, shareholders. I would crave your indulgence to grant me the privilege of sitting down to respond. Okay. Just a brief comment before I go into the questions and comments that needs to be responded to. I think that this AGM in itself has indicated that we've achieved a milestone. So, by the presence of associations representing the activist shareholding community, this is the first time that we'll be having questions from you people, and it's very clear that we are coming of age. So welcome, and we're delighted to have you amongst our shareholders. The first question I would like to respond to in the Statutory Audit Committee, the meetings that you requested if they had. Because of COVID and some of the protocols that the company had to adhere to, most of the meetings were done virtually and by circulation. And so, yes, I can attest to the fact that we have constituted Statutory Audit Committee, and they've met, and even they've met this year also in line with the quarterly meeting requirements. The second one about availability of shares is one of great delight for us. We've noted this problem, but it stems from how we started up. We started up as a company with very few shareholding base, but as we kept on growing, we increased, but obviously we've not increased significantly to allow for the float to be freely circulated. And it's part of the considerations that we had in issuing the bonus shares. And so we expect that in line with the increased number of shares and the sterling performance of the company, we would expect that you will buy more shares and you will support this vision, because the vision is one that everybody will be very grateful for and would benefit from enormously. VFD Group, every time I'm in a VFD Group meeting, I always pray to God that people don't ask me what's the meaning of VFD Group, because it's such a long story. But as my shareholders have requested, I am obliged and compelled to explain. So when we started about 13 years ago, we were young men and women with a great deal of ideas, thinking that we can change the world. No much money, but our mind was very radicalized in terms of what we can do. And so we even reflected that in the name that we got. And so we said what we would do is to change the Nigerian economy through diligence, success, diligence, articulation, and zeal, and finance and development. So originally the company was called Viadas. Via for true, D for diligence, A for articulation, Z for zeal. And we all had expertise in finance and development, so we added finance and development. When I resumed full-time in 2016, and I went for some investor calls, and I introduced the company that I was working for, and they said, when they asked me, what's the name of your company? I says, Viadas FD Limited. And then they are looking at me as if I'm speaking Chinese or something. So it was very obvious that we had to change the name to adapt it to something that people can recognize, remember, and the brand people were very conscious about it. And so we flipped the name to VFD. V for Viadas, which we now just had to represent, and then we maintained finance and development. And if you see, the core of the initial investments we made were in the finance sector. We're only now just expanding into different sectors with the objective of ultimately having a major foothold in all the key economic sectors in the country and beyond Nigeria too. So that's where the name came from. I hope I did justice to that. I would like to respond to some of the questions that you asked, just from the way they sequenced. So on the investment count, We had more meetings than 2. What had happened was that most of the investment considerations we had, also in view of COVID, were done by circulation and approvals. But we had 2 major meetings where we approved the most significant investments that we considered in the course of the year. The second you spoke about was on page 76 with respect to increased expense. You will notice that the expense is significantly increased on the count of the group, right? A couple of things happen when you run a house. We are an investment company. We reflect the interest of our investee companies in our consolidated position. And so when you acquire a company with significant punch line of expense, you would incorporate it into yours. And so it starts to reflect as it's quite significant. That's the first count. The second count is also one of the good problems to have. As you grow bigger and you grow capacity, you would incur more expenses. And for us, we usually have a lag period in reflecting the value. And so when you make an investment today, you don't expect that it will boost your revenue that same year. So most of the investments we made last year and incorporated their expenses, some of them we will get the value in the coming years. And so it's good news that our company is growing. We've incurred expenses. We've made significant investment. Be rest assured that we're on the right course and we will do very well in coming years to match all the investment that has historically been made. You also hinted on page 126, where you discussed business development and donations. If you notice also, they are also on the column of group. Like I said, the business model is something that we must always contemplate, right? As you make investments, you will incorporate the donations and the contributions that your subsidiary companies are also making. But also, it's quite important that your level of neighborliness is enhanced and the support of the community in terms of CSR. And so, for us and as an investment company, it's also a strategic objective for us to be obviously in support of our communities. And so you notice the school investment that was made that you mentioned. Similar supports and investment will consistently be made. But we also recognize the disclosure requirement that you stated, and we'll take that and incorporate it in coming time. Now, the last point you raised was the issue of other income. And I thought it was important that I use this opportunity to explain how our business model affects our revenue lines. You see, what we do is to make investments in companies. Most times, our operating income would consistently shrink relative to our balance sheet because you are making investment in companies. Now, the expected income lines for us is dividends, appreciation in investments, treasury activities, and things like that. For a bank, you can obviously see their mainstay of income. For us, our mainstay are the ones I mentioned. And for some strategic reasons, especially on tax optimization, it's important that you are mindful how you recognize those mainstays. If not, your tax incidence or effective tax will be significantly increased. And so from time to time, because we know that we must always return to our shareholders, we wear some very innovative cap to ensure that beyond our main lines of income, we're able to open up other lines of income that would allow us to pay dividends without the burden of excess dividend tax and other tax considerations that occur from time to time. We can easily say that the other income is now main income, but the main income based on our business model are the ones that I stated. And there are so many other strategic reasons why you want to hold on to those investment lines in certain days. So I hope I've answered most of your questions. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, the Group CEO, MD. The next item on the agenda is the declaration of dividend of 1,366,930,178 naira 90 kobo gross. For the financial year ended December 31st, 2021, the directors are recommending a dividend of 10 naira 79 kobo for every ordinary share of 50 kobo each to all shareholders whose names are in the company's register, registers of members as of Friday, May 13, 2022. I hereby move that a dividend of 10 naira 79 kobo for every ordinary share of 50 kobo each be paid to shareholders whose names appear on the company's register of members as at the close of business on Friday, May 13th, 2022. Will someone please second that motion? Yes, please.
Thank you, my chairman. Thank you, my chairman, for giving me the opportunity. I, Makonju Oladayo Abdul Yakin, I second the motion.
In favor of this motion, please press 1 on your voting pad. Anyone objecting to the motion, please press 2 on your voting pad. Sorry.
Yes.
That's it.
Please press any key on your voting devices to activate it.
Okay. Sorry. Press any key on your voting device to activate it. So, having put the motion to the meeting, if you are in favor, press 1. If you are objecting, press 2. And Registrar, Mrs. Nwosu, kindly announce the result of the voting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, for the declaration of dividend, a total of 108,356,157 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by proxies and shareholders, voted in favor of the resolution. There is no vote against this resolution, and no one abstained. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Nwosu. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. I didn't hear any clap. The motion has been duly carried. The next item on the agenda is for the shareholders to approve the appointment of Mr. Kelvin Norogun, Mr. Femi Akinware, Mr. Folajimi Adeleye, Mr. John Okonkwo, and Mr. Olanipe Kunwoshinowo as directors of the company. May I request the approval of shareholders that Mr. Kelvin Norogun be and is hereby appointed a director of the company. Will somebody please second the motion?
Thank you, Mr. My engineer. I'm Engineer Billion Sharafa Teju, second motion. Engineer Billion Sharafa Teju, second motion. Teju, Billion Sharafa Teju.
Those in favor, please press 1 on your voting pad. If you're objecting, press 2. Registrar, kindly announce the result of the voting.
The voting is on now. It's open for 20 seconds. Please, technical team, project. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the election of Mr. Kelvin Orogun as a director of the company, the result of the poll is as follows. 110,550,883 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by proxies and shareholders, voted in favor of the resolution. There is no vote against his election. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mrs. Olson. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Mr. Kelvin Orogun, congratulations. May I request the approval be and is hereby appointed a director of the company. Will someone please second the motion? At the back, please. We can hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Lawal Oluwakim. I hereby second the motion.
Very much, Mr. Lawal. I now put the motion to the meeting. Those in favor, press 1. If you're objecting, press 2. Registrar, kindly announce the results.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The vote is still open. We have 7 more seconds to go. The voting has closed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, for the appointment of Mr. Femi Akinwari as the director of the company, the result of the poll is as follows. 115,231,796 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by proxies and shareholders, voted in favor of the resolution. There is no vote against this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mrs. Nwosu. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Congratulations, Mr. Femi Akinwari. May I request the approval of shareholders that Mr. Folajimi Adeleye be and is hereby appointed the director of the company. Will someone please second the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to second that motion.
Thank you very much. I now put the motion to the meeting. Those in favor, press 1. Against, press 2. Registrar, kindly announce the results.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, the voting is still on. We have 8 more seconds to go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, for the election of Mr. Folajimi Adeleye as a director of the company, the result of the poll is as follows. 115,231,796 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by shareholders and proxies, voted in favor of the resolution. There is no vote against this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mrs. Nwosu. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Congratulations, Mr. Folajimi Adeleye. May I request the approval of shareholders that Mr. John Okonkwo be and is hereby appointed as the director of the company. Will someone please second the motion? Yes, please. Mr. Ozibo.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Valentine Ozibo. Before I second this motion, let me highlight the need for diversity on this board. Two ladies who are not here, but to see them looking gentlemen only, I don't feel comfortable. But on that note, I second the motion for appointment of John Okonkwo. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ozigbo. Those in favor of the motion, I now put the motion to the meeting. Those in favor, press 1 on the voting pad. Those against, press 2. Registrar, please announce the results.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, the voting is still on. We have 7 more seconds to go. Voting has ended. Distinguished shareholders, for the election of Mr. John Okonkwo as the director of the company, the result of the poll is as follows: 115,231,796 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by shareholders and proxies, voted in favor of the resolution. There is no vote against his election. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilson. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Congratulations, Mr. John Okonkwo. Mr. Ozigbo, we have pretty ladies and active shareholders in our midst. And because we are gender sensitive, we allow those 2 ladies to play what we should be playing in the diaspora. So if you want your chairman to relocate to London or to relocate to America where the second lady is, I will gladly relocate. And at the next AGM, I will join you virtually as chairman in diaspora. Thank you very much. May I request the approval of shareholders that Mr. Olanipekun Oshinowo be and is hereby appointed a director of the company. Will someone please second the motion?
My name is William Adebayo. I rise to second.
Thank you very much, Pastor. I now put the motion to the meeting. Those in favor, press 1. Those against, press 2. Registrar, please announce the results.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, voting is still on. We have 5 more seconds to go. Voting has ended. Distinguished shareholders, for the election of Mr. Olanipekun Oshinowo as the director of the company, the result of the poll is as follows: 115,231,796 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by proxies and shareholders, voted in favor of the resolution. There is no vote against his election. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Nwosu. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Congratulations, Mr. Olanipekun. The next item on the agenda is the re-election of retiring directors. And in accordance with Section 285, subsection 1 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, at the annual general meeting in every subsequent year, 1/3 of the directors, for the time being, shall retire from office and be eligible for re-election. The directors retiring by rotation and who being eligible have presented themselves for re-election, and those directors are Mr. Nonso Okpala, Mr. Adeniyi Adenubi, Mr. Gbenga Omolokun, Mr. Suleiman Lawal, and my humble self, Mr. Olatunde Busari, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. I hereby move that Mr. Nonso Okpala, who is retiring by rotation and has offered himself for re-election, be and is hereby re-elected. Will someone please second the motion? Someone who hasn't spoken. Someone who hasn't spoken. Sorry? Observation. Yes, please. That is noted. When it gets to the point that concerns me, I will stand down. I will send you to the law school and to Institute of Corporate Governance. I'm still the chairman, and until I now announce myself, I'll hand over to someone else, because then, oh yes, yes, thank you very much. Yeah, you can't ask the president not to conduct election because he's the president. Can somebody please second the motion?
Everyone.
Yes, thank you.
I, Fentola Babawale, hereby second the motion to rehire Mr. Nonso Okwala.
And you will go down in history if he's re-elected. I now put the motion to the meeting. Those in favor should please press 1. Those against should press 2. Registrar, please announce the result of the voting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, voting is still on. We have 6 more seconds to go. Voting has ended. The distinguished shareholders, for the re-election of Mr. Nonso Okwala, the result of the poll is as follows: 115,231,796 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by shareholders and proxies, voted in favor of his re-election. There is no vote against this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Nwosu. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Congratulations to IMD CEO, Mr. Nonso Okwala. I hereby move that Mr. Adeniyi Adenubi, who is retiring by rotation and has offered himself for election, be and is hereby re-elected. Will someone please second this motion? Yes, at the back.
I, Teresa Eze, hereby second the motion that Mr. Niyi Adenubi be re-elected. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now put the motion to the meeting. Those in favor press 1, those against press 2. Registrar, please announce the results.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, voting is still on. We have 12 seconds more to go. Voting has ended. Distinguished shareholders, for the re-election of Mr. Adeniyi Adenubi as the director of the company, the result of the poll is as follows: 115,231,796 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by shareholders and proxies, voted in favor of the resolution. There is no vote against his re-election. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Nwosu. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Congratulations, Mr. Adeniyi Adenubi. I hereby move that Mr. Gbenga Omolokun, who is retiring by rotation and has offered himself for election, be and is hereby re-elected. Will someone please second the motion? Can we have another lady second it, please? No, she can't. She's not a shareholder. Can we have a shareholder second the motion? Yes, please. Yes.
Hi, Makoju Oladayo Abdul. I second the motion.
Thank you very much. I now put the motion to the meeting. Those in favor press 1, those against press 2. Registrar. Can we have the results?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, voting is still on. We have 8 more seconds to go.
Okay, it's the voting that is taking time. That's by now we should have finished.
Voting has ended.
Voting that is taking time. By now we should have been ending it.
Distinguished shareholders, for the re-election of Mr. Gbenga Omolokun as a director of the company, the result of the poll is as follows: 113,037,070 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by proxies and shareholders, voted in favor of the resolution. There is no vote against this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Nwosu. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Congratulations, Mr. Gbenga Omolokun. I hereby move that Mr. Sulaiman Lawal, who is retiring by rotation and has offered himself for re-election, be and is hereby re-elected. Will someone please second the motion? Yes, please, at the back.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Hakim. I hereby second the motion.
Thank you very much. I now put the motion to the meeting. Those in favor, press 1. Those against, press 2. Registrar, can you announce the results?
Distinguished shareholders, voting is open. We have 10 more seconds to go. Voting has ended. Distinguished shareholders, for the re-election of Mr. Sulaiman Lawal as the director of the company, the result of the poll is as follows: 115,231,796 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by proxies and shareholders, voted in favor of the resolution. There is no vote against his re-election. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Mr. Sulaiman Lawal, congratulations. At this point, I will now hand over this part of the proceedings to Mr. Azubike Modi, since it involves my re-election as a director.
I hereby move that Mr. Olatunde Busari, SAN, who is retiring by rotation and has offered himself for re-election, be and is hereby re-elected. Would someone please second the motion?
The name is Williams Adebayo. Since he's of sound mind and he's not over 70 years old.
Are you sure?
Thank you, sir. I now put the motion to the meeting. Those in favor of this motion, please press 1 on your voting pads. Anyone objecting to the motion, please press 2 on your voting pad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, voting is still on. We have 1 more second to go. Voting has ended. Distinguished shareholders, for the re-election of Mr. Olatunde Busari as the director of the company, the result of the poll is as follows: 110,550,883 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by proxies and shareholders, voted in favor of the resolution. There is no vote against this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Congratulations.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much for the trust reposed in me. I will reserve my acceptance speech till another occasion. And as you will observe, I did not vote for myself. So that explains the, thank you very much, our shareholders. The next item on the agenda is to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the external auditors, Messrs. Deloitte and Touche. The law, specifically section 408, subsection 1 of the CAMA 2020, requires that the remuneration be fixed by the company in a general meeting or in such manner as the company may determine in the general meeting. I hereby move that the directors be and are hereby authorized to fix the remuneration of the external auditors for the year ended December 31, 2022. Will someone please second the motion? Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise to second that motion, sir.
Thank you very much. I now put the motion to the meeting. Those in favor, press 1. Those against, press 2. Registrar, kindly announce the results.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, voting is still on. Press 1 in favor or press 2 against. 3 more seconds to go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, for the resolution to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors, the result of the poll is as follows. 110,679,076 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by proxies and shareholders, voted in favor of the resolution. There is no vote against this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mrs. Nwosu. The next item on the agenda is the election of members of the Statutory Audit Committee. The directors nominated to represent the board on the Statutory Audit Committee are Mr. Mobolaji Adewumi, Non-Executive Director, and Mr. Chuks Ozigbo, Non-Executive Director. The company secretary has confirmed to me that a total of 3 valid nominations were received for membership of the audit committee from shareholders. The following members have been duly and validly nominated to represent shareholders on the audit committee. Mr. Adeyemi Lawal, shareholder. Mr. Akinola Olapade, shareholder. Sorry, Mr. Akinola Oladapo, shareholder. And Mr. Afolabi Adigbayo, shareholder. Since 3 shareholders are required to serve on the Statutory Audit Committee as representatives of shareholders, it will be time-saving to approve the election of all the members of the Statutory Audit Committee with a single resolution. Will someone please second the motion? They are your people, they are shareholders, okay. So you support the motion.
I rise to second the motion. William Adebayo is the name.
Thank you very much. I now put the motion to the meeting. Those in favor of this motion, please signify by raising your hands, and the registrar should please count. Thank you very much, Mr. Nwosu. Anyone objecting to the motion, please signify by raising your hands. Registrar, please count. Thank you. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. I hereby move a motion that the following persons be and hereby validly elected as members of the Statutory Audit Committee. I'll read out the names. Mr. Adeyemi Lawal, do you want to stand up to be recognized? Mr. Adeyemi Lawal, Mr. Akinola Oladapo, sorry, Mr. Afolabi Adegbayo, Mr. Mobolaji Adeomi, Mr. Chuks Ozigbo. You can sit down, please. Would someone please second the motion? Yes, please.
Hi, Makonjuola Oladayo Abdul-Yakin. I second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Makonjuola. I now put the motion to the meeting. Those in favor of this motion, please signify by raising your hands. Registrar, please count. Thank you very much. Those against, please signify. Thank you very much. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Section 238 of CAMA 2020 requires companies to disclose the remuneration of managers. You may please refer to page 138 of the annual report for details of the remuneration of the managers as required by law. This is for information purposes only. Thank you. The next item is a resolution to fix the remuneration of directors of the company. I hereby move that the remuneration of non-executive directors be and is hereby fixed at 53,900,000 naira only for the year ending December 31st, 2022. Such payments to be effective from 1st January 2022. Will someone please second this motion?
I second the motion. Engineer Bilion Sharafa Teju.
Thank you very much. Those in favor of this motion, please press 1 on the voting pad. Anyone objecting, press 2. Registrar, kindly announce the result of the voting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, voting is still open.
Am I to read out?
3 more seconds to go.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, for the resolution to approve the remuneration of the non-executive directors, the result of the poll is as follows. 108,484,350 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by shareholders and proxies, voted in favor of the resolution. There is no vote against this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mrs. Nwosu. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Clap now. Thank you very much. I'll move to the next resolution, which is quite lengthy, on the issuance of bonus shares. Members may consider and, if thought fit, pass the following special resolution. That in accordance with Section 430 of the CAMA 2020 and all other applicable laws and regulations, the directors are hereby authorized to capitalize the sum of 31,671,214 naira out of the balance standing to the credit of the share premium of the company as at December 31st, 2021, and available for distribution, and to appropriate the said capitalized sum to the members holding 126,900,000 684,910 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each in the capital of the company and registered as at the close of business on Friday, May 12, 2020, being the transfer date, on the condition that the sum appropriated shall not be paid in cash, but applied in paying up in full at par on behalf of such holders of 63,342,428 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each, being bonus shares, which bonus shares shall be issued and allotted, credited as fully paid up in full at par to those members in proportion of 1 ordinary share of 50 kobo for every 2 ordinary shares of 50 kobo now held by them, as at the transfer dates, and which bonus shares shall rank pari passu in all respects with the existing ordinary shares of the company, except that such shares shall not rank for dividend recommended by the directors in respect of the year ended December 31st, 2021. B, that the directors be and are hereby authorized to deal with financial shares resulting from the issuance of bonus shares as they deem fit pursuant to extant laws. Will someone please second this motion? Yes, please.
I, Makojola Oladaya Abduyekin, I second the motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Makojola. Those in favor, please press 1 on the voting pad, and those objecting, press 2. Registrar, please announce the results.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Technical team, kindly project. Distinguished shareholders, voting is still open. Voting has ended. Distinguished shareholders, for the resolution to approve the subjoined resolutions A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, the result of the poll is as follows. 115,103,586 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by proxies and shareholders, voted in favor of the resolution. There is no vote against this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Thank you, Mrs. Nwosu. Indeed, I read the resolutions 1A and B. The C, D, E, F, G relates to cancellation of unissued shares. And members may consider, and if you deem it thought fit, consider that it's been taken en bloc with A and B. Should we put that to vote and conclude on that, or should we just have a show of hands? Okay, can we have a show of hands? Okay. Okay. Let them show. Okay. Sorry?
They are not safe. So 9A and B should be taken. But C and C to F should be taken separately.
Okay. That was the plan. That was the sequence. But the registrar incorporated A, B, C to G. Okay.
Sorry, the technical team actually added O.
It's all right.
Please, let's take from C.
No, don't worry. I will now take from C to the end. But whoever is in charge of logistics should tell them to bring a glass of water for me. The next item on the agenda is the cancellation of issued shares. Member may consider and if thought fit pass the following resolution, special resolutions. That the company be and is hereby authorized to take all steps necessary to comply with the requirements of Section 124 of the CAMA 2020 and Regulation 13 of the Companies Regulations 2021 as it relates to unissued shares forming part of the share capital of the company, including the cancellation of the unissued shares of the company. The company's balanced unissued shares of 109,972,662 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each be and is hereby cancelled. D, that the company be and is hereby authorized to take all steps necessary to ensure that the memorandum and articles of association of the company are altered to comply with, with this resolution 9, including replacing the provision stating the authorized share capital with the issued share capital. E, that pursuant to the provision, that pursuant to the above resolutions, that clause 6 of the memorandum of association of the company be and are hereby amended to read as follows. The share capital of the company is 95,013,660 naira and 69 naira, divided into 190,027,338 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each. That for the purposes of implementing the cancellation of the company's unissued shares, the board is hereby authorized to execute all relevant documents, take all such lawful steps as may be required by statute or regulations, and do such other acts or things as may be necessary, supplementary, consequential, or incidental for the purpose of giving effect to this resolution, including but not limited to engaging professional advisors and complying with any directive which any regulatory agency or body may deem fit to impose or approve. G, that the board of directors of the company be and is hereby authorized to do all such things and take all such actions as are required to give effect to the above resolutions in compliance with extant laws and regulations. Will somebody please rise and second this motion? Thank you very much. Those in favor, please press 1 on the voting pad. Those against, press 2. Registrar, kindly announce the results. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished shareholders, for the resolution to approve subjoined resolution 9C, D, E, F, and G. The result of the poll is as follows. 115,103,586 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by proxies and shareholders, voted in favor of the resolution. There is no vote against this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Nwosu. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Ladies and gentlemen, as there is no other business on the agenda, I thank you very much on behalf of the board of directors for attending this meeting and for showing so much interest in your company's affairs. May I request Alhaji Suleiman Lawal to say the closing prayers.
In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, praise be to the Lord of the world, the beneficent, the merciful, master of the day of judgment. Thee alone we worship, and thee alone we seek for help. Guide us to the right path, the path of those whom thou hast favored, and not the path of those who have gone astray. On behalf of the VFD group, I wish each and every one of us back home, I wish each and every one of us a safe trip to our various destinations. Thank you very much. Amen.
But other times, we make investments in ailing companies with the objective of turning those companies around. Earlier this year, the board of directors of VFD Group, in recognition of the exceptional contribution of so many of our leaders in the respective companies we have, we are invested in about 21 companies, and we are in constant interaction with about 21 leaders, CEOs. These men and women have done a lot to reflect the positive numbers you see on our financial statement. And so the board approved the institution of an award, the CEO Award of the Year. And today, we have the rare privilege of awarding this to a leader who has made exceptional contribution to his company and by extension, the group. Certain considerations were put into considerations. One was the fact that the turnaround status, as I discussed about the kind of companies we invested in, we were seeking a leader who has made significant turnaround in the fortunes of the company that he has gone to lead. We have about 3 examples of such companies. We have an example with Abe. We have an example with Etihad. And these men and women have done exceptionally. We also talked about innovation. How do we continue to rethink the way business is conducted and the way we live our lives with the objective of delivering returns and value for our shareholders? Innovation was also very critical. We talked about brand enhancement of the company they lead and of the group. Today I have the rare privilege, after consideration of about 5 leaders, of which they've done exceptionally well in their own rights. But today I have the rare privilege of awarding it to Mr. Kanayo Enike of Etihad. Kanayo, please come forward. My chair.
On behalf of the board of directors and indeed on behalf of the entire shareholders, including all personnel, I'm happy to CEO of the Year 2021 award to you, Kanayo, for a job well done. And I congratulate you on behalf of everybody and the management. And I hope that this recognition will propel you to greater heights. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you.
Congrats.
What then is left? So what is left? What is left? Nothing. So thank you very much for staying behind for this little celebration. I also, on behalf of the board, want to thank our regulators for standing by us, and of course, I know that it is not the rain that has kept you behind with us. You will still have waited anyway. So thank you very much for your support and for standing by us all the time.